So, getting into game number 2, it is going to be GGK's Lightning versus Armada Gaming. I'm looking at my sheet now. Dashed Hopes, because it's different in-game. Gallegation, do you want to give us some info?
Yeah, sure. We only have information on Lightning, but he is a player who started playing StarCraft 2 2 years ago. Or, I'm sorry, 2 years after launch. That's very different, sorry. He got into SC2 after playing Warcraft 3 until that eventually died, and kind of felt like he was forced to switch to StarCraft 2. He played it here. He won a lot of play-in tournaments back when he was Diamond, and started in Silver, but in one season was able to jump to Platinum.
Nice.
So that's what we got.
GG, kids.
GG kids, indeed.
Alright, and as we said, this is going to be on King Sejong Station.
And before we jump in here real quick, I do want to remind everybody why we do these bios, why we try and introduce you to the players. As we've said before, this is StarCraft 2 Community Team League, and a lot of these players are really good. We saw some players in Season 1 that ended up making some decent names for themselves. Since then, Korean Air is one. I think there was a meme on StarCraft Reddit today even about Korean Air. At any rate, the point is, you might not have seen these players before. You may see them in the future, so we just wanted to give you a heads up of who they are, where they're coming from, put a face to a name instead of just a race. And you might be able to find these guys on Twitter or follow their teams and see where they go. So it's a grassroots organization, but people are rising up and joining the big leagues here, and you get to see them on the ground floor.
Yep, and also a quick spot for MythLogic. They're sponsoring a league this year for those of us joining us. They're a very cool local organization to us, actually. A system builder, makes some pretty sweet gaming rigs, and also helps spec out LAN centers and stuff like that. Bunch of cool guys. Check them out at MythLogic on Twitter or mythlogic.com. They've got a lot of cool stuff there. We encourage you to check them out. But with that, I think nothing else. We're going to jump on into game number 2. What do you say?
That's it. Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Go. Switch. There we go. Remembering to switch things is good. So far, so good. I'm 2 for 2. In the upper left-hand corner of King Sejong Station, wearing orange from Team GG Kids, it is Lightning.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, in the purple Protoss trunks, from Armada Gaming, it is Button.
So, PvP, one of our favorite matches, and I only say that because it seems like most tournaments we cast end up with a lot of PvP.
They do indeed.
But also, you know, the cool thing of the Pro League format is we don't end up with maybe quite as many of the repeat matchups as we did the past season.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be a more interesting season, I think. As you said before, we're not going to see those team all kills from one player. And even though that was kind of fun to see how far they could go, it did end up being, you know, there'd just be a guy who was just incredibly good on one team, and it kind of carried the whole team. So the team as a whole, their skill wasn't necessarily as high as the other team, but the one player was able to kind of rock the other one. So in this one, we're going to be seeing, you know, you're going to be seeing entire team strengths more so than you're going to be seeing individual strengths, and that should encourage the format of Team League a little bit better than the previous one.
It is pretty cool. So we did see in this game so far an early gateway from Lightning as an 11 gateway versus a 13 gateway from, I'm just going to call him, I'm just going to go by his in-game name because Dashed Hopes, aka Button. So maybe looking to, wow, double gas 2 behind that. So he's looking to tech quickly off of this early gateway, get that Cybernetics core up earlier, get the Mothership core, and possibly Twilight Council. We've been seeing that build quite a lot lately.
That's right.
So it's
but, you know, you got to see from a player named Lightning, he's got to be quick out of the gate, right?
He does, otherwise we would not live up to it. But Button is going to be moving himself across the map to scout out. He is going to see the Scout of Lightning coming out of the ramp. They do a little headbutt as they cross the ramp there. As Button moves on in, he's going to see the timing. If he clicks on the gases of his opponent, he will see how long they've been up. And the Cybernetics core is definitely significantly farther along than his own, setting a few sporadic rally points in the back there.
He just wants to keep an eye on what's going on, keep an idea of when he should start expecting units to be coming out. As you can see, that gateway isn't really doing a whole lot. The Cybernetics core isn't doing much just yet, but a Stargate is going down, and Button is on path to see it.
He's on path to run directly into it, so...
And it doesn't seem like Lightning even cares. He's like, yeah, go ahead, check that out, that Stargate. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing with a lot of players, too. It's like, you know what, I really don't care if you scout me, because if you scout me, then I'm just going to beat you with my skills rather than my mind games, which seems to be in PvP one of the most prevalent things. Hashtag mind games, SC2CTL.
So that probe bites the dust, lightning strikes from the heavens, from his mothership core. I'm going to keep using lightning puns. I really am enjoying his name.
Yeah, that Stargate does come up pretty quickly. Looks like he's going to be going for some Phoenix with that mothership core. This is a cool build in Heart of the Swarm. Obviously has been out for quite a while now, but the Photon Overcharge never does get old and really does a lot to protect you early against silly stuff. Any proxy gates at this point would have been coming in. A little bit difficult to deal with, but you can help handle a lot of those early things a lot easier with that Photon Overcharge, especially getting that Cybernetics core down a little bit earlier. But it looks like Button is actually kind of scared of Oracles right now.
Yeah, and Lightning comes out with a Phoenix, and a single Phoenix is heading across the map. He's not going to be able to get a whole lot done with that other than scout and potentially snipe that mothership core, but he's going to run into a couple stalkers.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking too, is he's going to take some pokes at that mothership core and mostly just keep a good scouting eye. It's like the Reaper of Protoss at this point. But there is a Robo Bay a robotics facility going down from Button, so he's going to be going a completely divergent path from his opponent, which is curious because Phoenix, are a little bit harder to deal with the units that don't shoot up.
That's true. It looks like the Twilight Council is going to be coming down, so we're going to either be seeing some DTs or some High Templars. Those storms or feedbacks could be decent against these Phoenix, but it's so hard to pin them down.
Oh, and the probe of Button just misses the Phoenix moving through the middle of Lightning. Not that it would be all that big of a shock, but multiple gateways going down here, warp gates opening on up, so he's going to be able to warp in extra stalkers here. Does have a Photon Overcharge available if necessary, but some probes going to end up dying, picking off those gas probes. Smart move, because it does take a few extra actions to put some probes back into gas. Oh, and it looks like he hasn't actually done that yet, just trying to keep tabs of his units, keeping things together. Blink going down going to be the choice out of Button, so that's a good choice there considering the Phoenix, but the big interesting thing will be what Lightning does to follow up these Phoenix.
Button is putting down a proxy pylon and just behind the mineral field of his opponent's natural expansion. Both players playing on single base here, and it's a pretty exciting game so far with these Phoenix coming in. You can see why they're both forced onto one base with this type of aggression this early.
Yeah, it looks like Lightning kind of got those Phoenix just to kind of keep tabs on his opponent and hold him in his base, as he's now kind of teched out of that, got a Robo going with some Immortals coming out. Going to be a great counter to that, we hate to say the word counter, but since he kind of did force Button into Blink, the Immortals are going to deal with that very well, and he really honestly doesn't have to do a whole lot with these Phoenix, because he can just kind of hang out here and snipe probes after this Photon Overcharge wears off, keeping Button in his base.
And that is kind of the brilliance of the Phoenix, is that he's got him out there, he's got him continuously moving through his opponent's base. He always knows what opponent does, or is doing at any given time. So as long as he's smart with him, as long as he keeps him alive and keeps the information going, he can play reactively to his opponent and not have to try and fire in the dark, so to speak.
Button going to go ahead and put down that expansion, knowing that he can't move out. Might as well, given that Blink is just about done here in just a second. So Lightning will have to be slightly more careful with these Phoenix, but has been really producing a lot. No production out of him in the last few seconds or so. Waiting to see what he decides to pull out. He is moving out with some units, going to find this pylon down here at the natural expansion, looking to put down an expansion of his own. Oh, Stalker's catching the Phoenix off guard, moving right under him. Going to snipe down one and be able to blink up and possibly take out a second one. Looks like he is not quite going to get that, but Lightning definitely focused on taking that out as Button was distracted by the army attacking his pylon.
So now both players are moving into their second base, into the mid-game here. Lightning diversifying his army and his his assets, as you could say.
Yeah, the observer of Button is moving through the main base of Lightning to check on what he's doing. He's going to be able to see everything. He's going to see the forge going down and the robo base. There really hasn't been a whole lot more of teching coming down from either player, but Button is deciding to move into some Stargate. So seeing what the reaction was of Lightning, given that Button was in his base, that being the robo, pretty smart move from Button to put down the Stargate. Possibly going to see some Void Rays here, I would think.
So now we're seeing Colossus coming out from Lightning. He does not have extended thermal lance, and it's not even starting to cook just yet. He wants to get that Colossus out faster. than having it upgraded.
Those Phoenix still being effective at keeping Button back in his base, even though he has a whopping 8 Stalkers here. They do kind of have to stay back, because even with Blink, it is difficult to deal with those Phoenix. Look like Button is going to be sending out a scout hallucination of his own. He is going to make it by the real Phoenix, just to make sure he can keep on top of what his opponent is doing.
Sure enough, gets in to see the natural, but doesn't make it into the main, so he's not going to be able to see those Colossus just yet. The one that's just coming out did kind of dance around his assimilator, but finally made it out.
Ooh, look at this. Is this genius mind play from Button here, going right for the Fleet Beacon, not even getting any Voiders or anything? Is he going to be getting those Tempests, assuming that his opponent is going to be going Colossus?
Well, he does now have an observer in Lightning's base and does see the robotics bay chucking away at that extended thermal lance.
That is a good play.
Is somewhat
indeed.
informed.
These 3 Phoenix are going to be kind of squashed down here as one does go down, does come back in and get 1 probe. Looking at the grand total loss, he has killed 10 probes, so that is a decent number. The Phoenix have sort of made it worth it, I suppose. Definitely from the fact that he was forced to stay in his base, but upgrades coming down from both players now. Thermal Lance is about to finish, as well as the first Colossus. Looks like Button accidentally attacking his own Nexus there for a moment.
And that's got to sting a little bit. I mean, if nothing else, your pride. Those shields will regenerate, but a little bit of wounding there.
Button here now coming down with a 2nd Stargate, so we're going to go into some pretty serious either Tempest or Carrier production. I would certainly assume Tempest, given that he knows... Yep, and there comes the first Tempest. I love to see this kind of play.
So it's going to come down to control battle here. Whoever gets the army that they want to move out first is going to have the upper hand.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting that, you know, a lot of PvP, we see a lot of those mind games or the trickery going on with DTs and other stuff like that. We really haven't seen that out of this game. It's been pretty much a, I'm just going to scout you and react to what you're doing game so far. You know, Lightning going down with the Stargate early, Button reacting appropriately, then Button securing himself and reacting to what Lightning decides to do with those Colossus. So I'm interested to see how it comes out here with Zealot Charge coming down, as well as upgrades for the ground units and Templar Archives.
So it seems like the tables have turned in terms of vision and scouting. Button has this single observer that hasn't been detected yet. Lightning may know it's there, but he can't do anything about it, while this Phoenix is pretty pinned back. It isn't able to really get a lot of information at this point.
Oh, and he does see those 2 High Templar warp in there, so he's going to know exactly what his opponent's doing as well with that. The storm coming down on the way. And honestly, I think he doesn't really care so much about that Phoenix anymore. Yeah, he could be using it to scout around a little bit, but Button is pretty well covered against that at this point. I mean, he could just poke up here a little bit and possibly see one of these Tempests coming out, but beyond that, I think its utility is fairly spent at this point. Now coming up to 3 Tempests. Once he gets that money 5 Tempests, he'll be able to one-shot those Colossus usually, given the upgrades. But both players just kind of sitting back and massing up. Archon's coming out for Button. Has he researched Storm? Is the question.
It does not look like it.
No, I don't think so. Storm, you know, can be pretty effective on the Protoss units as well, even though it seems more visually effective on the Terran units. But Lightning looking like he's going to try and make a move here pretty soon. He's spreading the proxy pylons throughout the middle of the map. Another Tempest about to pop out here for Button as well.
But it looks like Lightning is gearing up. He's setting all his proxy pylons across the map and moving. The observer moving with them, though, so Button is not going to be taken by surprise here. Yeah, and
Lightning did fly that Phoenix out that was sitting in the back of Button's base, and he did see all the Tempests that were there, so he is fully aware, both players fully aware of what they're walking into, doing a nice job here, spreading out his army, spreading out the Tempests. So, but there is quite a lot of Zealots here for both players, so that's going to be a bit of a factor as well.
Looks like Lightning doesn't need Storm because he's just going to be going in with Archons here.
Yeah, Archon's going to do quite a bit of damage along with the Colossus to all those Zealots of Button once they rush in there, but he doesn't have Zealot Charge either, so you can kind of micro those back a little bit. That big positioning battle coming in now as Lightning is going to take out the pylon of Button here as Button moves back into his base.
And Button is now supply blocked after losing that pylon. So here's the big engagement. The Zealots are rushing in. Both Time Warps going down. The Colossus doing big damage to the front lines. Those Tempests are trying to take down the Colossus, but hallucinated ones go up as well, so it's trying to figure out which ones are the real ones. But it looks like Button is actually taking this... Oh, wait.
Yeah, those force fields down there really helped quite a bit, holding some of those Zealots back, blinking the Stalkers back. Some of the Tempests starting to take a bit of damage now, but the units that shoot up for Lightning have been minimized here. As he does take out the second base of Button and goes on and gets on out of there. So if you look at the units lost tab, it is definitely in favor of Button right now. So I'm not I mean, it was fairly close though, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But and the thing is that Button lost a base though.
Yep. But Button's smelling blood. He's still got 3 Tempests and a decent number of Stalkers and Zealots. He's going to be moving across the map, but those pylons are going to slow him down.
Yeah, those Tempests were extremely utilitous for Button, as once the Archons were shot down, there really wasn't a lot left for Lightning that shot up. So, but there are a bit of a warp in here of Zealots to kill some of these probes remote mining from this base, but there are a reactionary warp in from Button, going to be able to take that out. But now looks like Button's going to bring the heat to Lightning, moving up here to the ramp. There is not a whole lot of forces here for Button, though, so these initial forces are going to get cleaned up pretty good. He needs to move those Tempest back. So once these Stalkers get cleaned up, he's going to be... Oh, and Button GG's. Well.
Well, he did go down a base there.
Yeah, I mean, but Lightning only had 2 bases himself. So, yeah, I agree. It just seems like that could have maybe been a little bit more of a better push. I don't know. The Button definitely was down on supply, so let's be fully aware of that. He was 25 supply under Lightning. But so given that situation, he didn't really lose any probes in that main engagement, so you know, I almost wonder if he would have taken his second and popped down a third, given that he was in a relatively decent position to defend there. But it's neither here nor there at this point.
That's right. There were a lot of Immortals there, but they can't shoot up, so those Tempests were fairly safe from that. But who knows? You know, I mean, these players obviously have played enough games and know those situations enough to make educated decisions in these situations. So the game number 2 goes to Lightning, and that puts our score to 1-1 between GG Kids and Armada Gaming.
All tied up. So after that, we're going to take a quick 30-second break here while we run a quick advertisement, get the next game set up, and we'll be back with introductions of our next match and get that going. Be right back.